long time since I've just sat here and talked to you guys at home, obviously. And basically, today's video, I felt that I needed to do that because obviously, it's just too many rings, you know. Because obviously you guys have seen my past 4 or 5 videos have been my World Muslimah pageant vlogs. Because I have just come back from Indonesia, approximately almost two and a half weeks ago. I was in Indonesia doing lots of things, and 2 weeks of the month that I spent there, I was doing the World Muslimah Award pageant / competition thing. This room's really echoey, that's why. Okay. Today I'm just going to do a sort of like thoughts, discussions, recap video because I didn't really manage to film as much as I would have liked, and therefore my footage doesn't really show a full picture of what actually happened. However, the BBC were with me filming my every move during the competition, so you will get a chance to see pretty much everything that happened. The BBC documentary that's going to come out in February or March next year, inshallah. I want to share with you guys the reasons I went in, what I gained from the experience, what I didn't gain, things that I wish I didn't have to experience, or just going to talk to you a little bit about it, and things like that, I guess, maybe. Anyway, so, this intro is all over the place. Anyway, so, the reasons I went in, basically, I'd heard about this competition previously from last year's 2013 one. I just came across it really briefly on Facebook or something like that, and I didn't really give it much thought. I just sort of read the article I came across and I was like, oh, okay, it's in Indonesia, it makes sense, they're really into things like that. Because the hijab in Indonesia is completely normal, and because I think it's the mainstream over there, it allows them to do things that, for example, we would never do in the UK, like a Muslim beauty pageant. Anyway, I've been to Indonesia twice before in my life, before going this time around, so altogether I've been 3 times now. And the first time I went for about 2 weeks for the Dian Pelangi Sisterhood, and that was the first time I ever went to Indonesia and was introduced to Indonesia and everything about it. Anyway, the second time I went with Sid, and we went for about just over a month, and this time around I also went for just over a month. Basically, this is what happened. This is how I came about doing the competition. BBC contacted me, and they're like, oh hey, we're thinking about doing this documentary, have you heard about this competition? I was like, oh yeah, I have heard about it actually, I don't know much about it, but I have heard about it. And I was like, I've been to Indonesia twice before as well, and I have a few friends there, and I really love it. Because at that time I was thinking of moving to Indonesia, but things didn't work out. So I was like, I really love it in Indonesia, I'm thinking of moving, blah blah blah. And she was like, okay, well we're looking for someone to present the documentary about this competition, basically. And I was like, oh okay, sounds totally like my thing, especially since I've been there before and I feel like I know it, blah blah blah. And because I'm a Muslim woman in the fashion industry, and it's just my kind of scene. So I was like, yeah, I could totally do that. And then they were like, okay, but you would actually have to apply as a contestant. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll have to think about that. What the BBC wanted from me is a video, sort of like a video application. Not really application, but they didn't say it was application, but I'm not stupid. They were kind of like, make a video introducing yourself so I can show the rest of the team and we can see if you're suitable or not. So I'm guessing they asked quite a few UK bloggers to do the same thing. And anyway, in the end, I agreed to apply as a contestant. They were like, you'll apply as a contestant. If you get in, it's going to make a great documentary because we can see it through your eyes. If you don't get in, we'll continue to do it. You'll just sort of go behind the scenes and meet people, and we'll do the film that way. I was like, okay, fine. So I sent them the film of me, etc. And then they decided that I would be suitable to do it. And probably because I'm the only girl, probably because I'm the only person they approached who agreed to be a contestant, I'm guessing. So anyway, I applied, and BBC filmed the whole application process, so that's on camera. I applied, I did everything just as is required on the competition website, as anybody else would. And I actually genuinely got in, became a top 25 finalist, which isn't surprising because I think I was like the only person amongst them. I think there's like maybe 2 or 3 possible UK girls applying, so I'm guessing that they loved the fact that anybody from abroad might want to apply, so I kind of guessed I would get in regardless. So anyway, I got in. So that's how I got to doing the competition, okay? And obviously I was skeptical at first because I was like, okay, first of all, like pageant, that's just so not me. And like do I really want to do this? It's going to be like so, and you know, I've never taken part in any kind of pageant, let alone sort of public competition in any way whatsoever. So just remember, I had no idea what to expect, but I definitely did have high expectations, because I was like, you know what, pageants are just shit, to be honest with you. They don't do anything for women, they degrade women, they give you low self-esteem, they don't do anything, if you ask me, other than make you compete with each other. So I was like, maybe this is going to be a huge contrast to a regular pageant. And of course, the obvious reason that anybody would want to do this kind of thing anyway is to show Muslim women in a good light in the media, for once. And this is getting a little bit boring now, how we're all trying to change the stereotype, and we're all trying to make sure we don't look oppressed, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's trying to fight for this cause, and it's been happening for years now, so I was just getting a bit bored with the whole thing. But obviously I can see the intentions of the competition and the reasons that they want to do it obviously are for good reasons, to make Muslim women, to put us in a good light. Obviously, anyone can see that, okay? So I was like, you know what, this could be a good thing, and also because it's the Muslim one, maybe I'm going to gain something from the experience from a religious point of view. Maybe I will come back more religious or with more knowledge. I was hoping to go there and learn a lot. I was hoping to go there and have a lot of like Islamic classes, workshops. I was just hoping to learn a lot Islamically from it, and I was like, you know what, I'm 25 years old, this could be okay, it's completely out of my comfort zone, but it might completely change me and make me a little bit more religious and more, you know, because everybody wants to progress as they get older. You want to always better yourself as you get older, and I feel a bit old, so I was like, this could be a life changer. It could be a really good experience for me. And all in all, it was a good experience. It did change me, I think. It was a really good experience. See, it's important for me to sit down and talk to you guys, because I can look at things in hindsight and I can reflect on them without being in that really stressful, crazy situation. That it was, by the way. So, looking back at it, it was a great experience, and I do not regret doing it, and I did learn a lot. The things I learned: patience, number one. Because like you guys saw in my vlogs, I'm not used to sharing space with anyone other than Sid or my sisters, etc. And it's not because I'm greedy or selfish or anything like that. It's because I'm socially, I mean, you'd be surprised. I think I am socially awkward. I'm not socially awkward in the situation, but in my head, I am socially awkward, because for me it's a big effort to be so social. So that is one of the reasons I learned patience, because I was just thrown into the situation. And in the end, my roommate, who was with me for most of the time, Prima, we became really good friends. All of the contestants became really good friends, and we all still talk to this day. To this day, like it's so far away, it's like only 2 weeks. Anyway, we all still talk. And what was nice about the competition was that there was no sense of competition between the contestants. We were all friends, and we were all like looking out for each other, and if somebody was down, I'd be like, especially me, because I was kind of like me and a few other girls, Miss Iran, for example, were kind of like the loud, outspoken girls who just said what was on their minds. If we thought something was weird, we were like, but why? Anyway, I especially was one of the ones who sort of asked a lot of questions, and therefore was looked at slightly like a troublemaker. But I don't think I was a troublemaker, and I think if you want to know the answer to something, you need to ask questions, otherwise you'll never know. And also, asking questions gives the other person the opportunity to justify what they're doing or what they're making us do in the eyes of all the media that they have. So, I mean, I just felt like I had to, for myself, ask so many questions so that I know what's going on. Do I agree with it? Do I want to be put in this situation? Do I want to do this? Do I want to be an ambassador for what's going on right now, basically? Okay, so I was a big questionnaire girl, and there were a few of us who, you know, raised our eyebrows at a few things, and also we enjoyed loads of other things. But what you have to understand is, with every event or with every situation, there are good things and there are bad things, negatives and positives. So everything that you saw me say in my vlogs, and that you will see me say in the BBC documentary, and everything that I'm going to say to you now, is things that I have spoken about with the organisers themselves. So it's nothing that I'm hiding or like doing behind their back or anything. I've spoken about all my issues with everybody that is concerned. And for people who are saying, oh, you need to really watch what you say because you don't want to make the image of Muslims bad, etc., What you have to understand, the whole 2 weeks that we were there, we had media with us 24/7. They were even staying in the hotel as us. So the media could see everything that we were doing, everything we were talking about. They could see, they had the schedule, they were experiencing it with us 100%. So I'm not saying anything that was hidden or anything. It's already out there with the media. Everybody, it's already out there to people that are beyond my platform of social network anyway. So the only thing I'm trying to do is, with things that I don't agree with, is just trying to put it right or stand up for what I think is fair in some situations. That's it. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for the sake of keeping the competition looking lovely and like ha ha ha, because the competition, and I've said this before, has great potential for Muslim women, if you ask me. However, at this present moment in time of my experience, there needed to be a lot of changes and a lot of improvements, especially if, like they claim, they want to bring it worldwide. If you wanted to, for example, bring that kind of thing to the UK, it needs to be done so differently. And I'm guessing many other places. Anyway, this is all over the place. I don't have memory. I don't know where to start. But for example, on my phone, I have like a whole list of notes I've been keeping to talk about. Look at all that. Look at all these notes. Okay, you can't see it. Look, see all these notes I've been keeping? About things to talk about. Anyway, so let me just have a look at those. One of my main worries was I really wanted to make sure that I went in with an open mind, because for a lot of girls in Europe, I think they saw this, when I told them I'm doing the documentary, they saw this as an opportunity for the BBC and me to make Muslim women. It was like a chance for us to look good to everyone else who thinks we're crap, like oppressed, married to terrorists, blah blah, all that boring stereotype. It was a chance, big chance for us to change that, and for us to have a whole documentary on BBC Three, which is a bit more of a laid-back channel, a whole documentary highlighting how amazing all these contestants are and everything. And let me just put it straight, every single one of the contestants became my friend, and every single one of those girls, I think, were too good for the competition, if you ask me. Because think about it, anybody who's applying for World Muslimah and who got in, I would hope, got in on the basis of their character and their personality and their views on life. And you know, we're not young 10 to 15-year-old girls who still need showing the way. We're all like 19 plus, so we're either finding ourselves or we've found ourselves and we know what we want in life. And one of the things I found with a lot of parts of the competition, it was really patronizing. And what they didn't realize is that they've got such great girls who are outspoken and who do such great things, and unfortunately I felt like they wanted to sort of train us to do what they want instead, and that sort of backfired with a few of us. So I was really worried that I would come across too negative on the BBC documentary, and I didn't want to ruin the image of Muslim women. But if you ask me, on the parts that I did come across negative, or that you will see later, I think that can be a good thing, because it shows that we're not sheep, we don't just follow anybody, whether they're Muslim or not. We question things, we have minds that work, alhamdulillah, and like, we are individuals. What's nice about it as well is it shows the different communities within the Muslim faith, because a lot of the non-Muslims who watch the media and they have their judgments on us, they look at us like we're all Muslims, we're all the same, we're all bleh. But you have to realise that there are so many different communities within the Muslim faith. For example, in England, there are so many different Muslim communities, and now we've gone worldwide at the other Muslim communities, and that's huge. And so for me, one of the big things was the cultural differences. And I thought I knew Indonesia and its culture, but really, this time round, I felt in those 2 weeks is when I really learned about Indonesia and its culture more than any other time I've been. And so maybe it was a bit of a culture clash. Because, for example, we're all Muslims, we all believe in the same thing, but sometimes culture gets in the way of the religion. And also what we have to remember is so many people have different interpretations of Islam, small parts of Islam. So, like, it's really difficult to explain, but for me, so for example, the karaoke thing, I don't have a problem with karaoke, because, look, I'm not the best Muslim, okay? I think, this is my views on singing. I don't think singing is haram. I just think it's debatable whether you're going to sing in front of a man or not, because your voice can be seen as your aura if you sing, because singing makes your voice sound beautiful, right? If you can sing. When I sing, no. But, so in that way it can be seen as your aura, so if you can do that in front of men, it's kind of like, it's all part of the hijab as well, if you ask me, because the hijab isn't just covering your hair, it's your actions and how you act in public, how you hold yourself. For example, Miss Iran uses the great example in Al Jazeera where she was like, there's a difference between saying, so there's two ways you can say hello. You can be like, hey, how are you? Or you can be like, hello, how are you? You know, I don't know. Anyway, so for me, karaoke isn't a big deal, but I would do karaoke, and I have done karaoke loads of times before with a small group of friends, maybe all girls. I have done karaoke with a mixed group as well, but it wasn't like filmed and put on the media. And also it was a tight group of friends and Sid was present with me. And I don't know, so I don't have a problem with it, but my problem was that it was just, with the karaoke thing isn't a big deal, right? But remember, I'm put in the situation, and every time you watch my vlogs, I'm like knackered. 3 hours of sleep every night, so if something pissed me off, it really pissed me off, and the only thing I had to talk to properly was my camera because Sid wasn't there, so mainly what you saw was just my complaints. But the karaoke situation, the only thing that annoyed me was the fact that it's attached to World Muslimah as a completely normal thing, when you have to just look at it as it's an Indonesian culture mainly, because Southeast Asia, they love karaoke, they love singing. And why not? Because bloody hell, almost every Indonesian I've met has an amazing voice and can sing. But the annoying thing is that it's just really attached to World Muslimah, and because this is the annoying thing, it's World Muslimah, so obviously they have international contestants, i.e. me, Miss Iran, Miss Tunisia, from Nigeria, Tobago, India, Bangladesh, and in our Islamic cultures, the karaoke in front of men is a shock for us. We would, for example, I probably would never do that. It's not that I would never do that, but it is like a ooh kind of thing. Just like, for example, my 2 inches of hair is like a ooh kind of thing for some people. It's like different view. We've all got different priorities, I think. That's what it is. We all have different priorities. So the karaoke isn't a problem, but my problem was the fact that we were all expected to just find it normal and therefore all sort of just participate in it. Or not participate, but like still be in that situation. And I probably would have been completely fine and had a go if it was just all girls and there wasn't like cameramen and it was going to go all over the place, because I'm just not used to that. You know, we're culturally different. It doesn't mean to say that the Indonesians are not modest because they're in hijab and they're singing. Because if you look at the whole picture, they're still really, really modest and respectable women while they're singing. They're not breaking it down and like looking all gross, you know? They're singing, but they're still holding their modesty in a way. It's really difficult to explain. So they're still like modest and respectable because that's just their culture, and they're also used to singing and stuff like that. Anyway, one of the other issues I had with before going into the competition was the fact that basically a World Muslimah is going to be picked. Me and Sid were both like, couldn't get our heads around it. We were like, how are you going to pick the World Muslimah? That's such a huge title. Whoever wins that has such a huge responsibility. And honestly guys, from the beginning, I definitely had no intentions to win because I knew I would not be able to handle that responsibility, and I would not be able to be an ambassador for that because the whole idea is slightly strange. Anyway, I feel like they could have gone for the whole competition idea, but maybe not done it a pageant and not titled the World Muslimah. They could have done, because the problem is, right, it was held in Indonesia because in Indonesia the person who found it is an Indonesian, and basically that's why it's held in Indonesia. And also I think one of the big issues was maybe it should have been called Indonesian Muslimah pageant because of the culture of Indonesia that we all sort of had to participate in. So I didn't feel like it was internationally friendly for other Muslim cultures, if you know what I mean. For example, Miss Iran found something super strange because in Iran, that's how you say it, we don't do this, you know. For example, some things like the karaoke, with mixed event karaoke, she'd say that would happen sort of like in the back streets wouldn't be so publicized. But I felt like they could have introduced music and art to it because it's part of the culture, but in a different way. Maybe they could have done a lot of poetry, or they could have done like nasheed singing even, because obviously Islamically people have different views on this, but some instruments are not allowed, I believe. And also I think it depends on what you're singing. Like if you're going to sing about sexy this, sexy that, what's the point? What are you getting out of this experience? That's one of the things that annoyed me, all the singing and all the makeup and the photo shoots. What are we getting from this? This is a really, really tight 2 weeks that we should be learning things in and doing things in. And what am I actually getting from this whole day of promoting designers and wearing makeup and doing photo shoots all day? What am I getting from this experience? What are we all getting? Absolutely nothing. Literally, the only people that are getting something are the sponsors of the clothes that we have to wear. And okay, yes, we didn't have to sort of publicly say my clothes are from this person and this person, but obviously if we're going to be wearing them, our pictures are going to be shared as advertisement. The amount of promotion advertising we had to do for companies for almost everything. For example, the train journey from Jakarta to Jogja, which was an 8-hour train journey. It was an amazing train journey. It went so quickly and we were so comfortable, and it was in first class and it was great, and it was a really good chance for me to get to know Miss Iran because she sit next to me. But it was sponsored from the train company, so therefore we had to do a lot of advertising for it. In the beginning there's like, they always do opening ceremonies where they like open. So we'd arrive at the train station and we all have to go in a room and there's a guy on a microphone telling us about how happy he is to have us here, which is great and stuff, but I don't feel like half the time they needed the microphone because we're just in a small room. But anyway, there's a lot of promotion. Obviously we'd have to be like made up, and this is the reasons. Like we had a presentation on this from the founder, who's Eka Shanti. She's the founder of World Muslimah. The reason that they do the whole that they provide us with Indonesian designers' clothes to wear and the makeup and make sure we're all like this, etc., is for the media, because the media is only interested in a story if something looks beautiful. That was the reasons that all of that was happening. But I just really disagreed with that. It seemed like this year they really cared about media attention, and not all attention is good attention, that's for sure, but they do say any publicity is good publicity. But I just felt like the media was with us too much, and they cared too much about the media. We want to get worldwide coverage. We want to show them that we're a massive competition, and we've got 9 or however many, 8 or 9 international contestants, etc. And that was another annoying thing, because some sneaky birdie told me that some international contestants were sort of like asked to apply because they needed international finalists, which is fair enough. They want to get the world involved, but that's not fair. It's not fair judgment. It's not fair, like, to tell somebody to apply and you're definitely going to get in. Anyway, one of my other main issues was like, and I think this is the culture thing as well, the lightening/whitening creams. And this is the same issue that you have with tanning creams. Like here, like I've got an issue with always wanting to be tanned, which is the same as girls in Indonesia always wanting to be whiter or lighter. And so these are like small social problems in themselves anyway, the tanning situation and the whitening/lightening products. And in Indonesia the culture is mainly for lightening, so their main sponsor was Wardah Cosmetics, and the founder is a lovely woman, and the brand itself is great. They actually have great makeup. The lipstick I'm wearing is from Wardah, and I do have powders from them. We were given loads of their free makeup, and my only issue with the lightening creams that we were given is the fact that it's not the fact that it's really difficult. It's the fact that it's being promoted just as if we were all expected to look tanned. It's because that's the idea of beauty here in the West. The idea of beauty over there is to look white. So you got contestants from Nigeria, Tobago, Bangladesh, India, me, half Egyptian, coming in, and like you want us, because your idea culturally of beauty is for us to look fair, so it's just natural to give us the lightening creams. Don't mean it as an insult or anything, but I feel like as a World Muslim competition, that's one of the, like, it's a big thing to look at. You definitely don't want to be treading on that sort of turf, in terms of, you just have to be careful about Because if you're going to go ahead and give a black girl lightening creams without her looking and going to get them herself, you're telling her that, yeah, you need to look lighter because this right now ain't happening. That's really insulting. So my issue with that was the fact that it was being promoted, and I would have had the same issue if we were told that we all need to look darker. I would have had the same issue, because this whole thing is not supposed to be about how you look, right? It's supposed to be about your inner beauty, etc. But really, honestly, guys, I feel like they do really mean that, but I feel because of the culture and because maybe of the older generation organising it and the way they think from years back hasn't sort of changed. Although they don't mean it now, but it's sort of just embedded in their brains subconsciously, if you know what I mean. So for them, it's not it's not a big thing, and people are like, oh, if you're not happy with it, why don't you just say something? Well, we could have got you up something else. But that's not the point. The point is we're giving it, and we're all supposed to like be happy that we got like. I know, it's really complicated. You just need to be careful about what you're promoting. And just to clarify, I love Warrior Cosmetics, and it is a cultural thing. You get lightening creams here in England, just like you get tanning creams. But my problem was promoting that one in particular. Why are you promoting it? Don't promote that, because you're not supposed to be about what you look like. Remember, everyone's beautiful, right? Whatever colour you are, whatever you are. Enough about the lightening, tanning thing. It's an issue that we all know about, we're all very familiar with. Anyway, also every time we had an event or anything to do, even if we're going for like a tourist day, which is going to be in the heat, etc., we were given outfits to wear from designers, and I'm very grateful for the designers who sponsored us. But some of these girls came with massive suitcases of their own clothes to wear, and they didn't get to wear it at all because they have to wear the sponsors' clothes because they're sponsors and therefore they need advertising, which is just, it was so frustrating because a massive part of everyone's personality is how you dress, I think, and most girls agreed with me. And it was just so frustrating to not be able to even be comfortable in how you look because you have to wear somebody else's styling you every day. And sometimes it was super, super uncomfortable. Like we're all women, we all have body image problems and body problems. So sometimes you need like, this skirt doesn't fit properly. It's really difficult. And I just felt like a massive, huge part of our personality was taken away, and we were not given the opportunity to express our personality and individuality, which is what it should be all about. We were sort of just there, do this, do that, robots. And you know, a big part of the competition, I thought a big part of the competition would be the Quran recitation judgment, which some people can say is fair. It's not fair because not every Muslim girl is at the same stage, Quran recitation, etc. And to be fair, mine is pretty awful. I even went for a lesson beforehand because I knew that we were going to be judged on these two ayahs from Surah Al-Fusilat, and we were going to be judged on our tajweed of those two ayahs. They're quite short ayahs, and I went to a lesson, learned the tajweed, learned the two ayahs, and I was quite confident in it actually. But you know, with Quran you have like two different kinds of recitation. You have where you just know your tajweed, then you have the other, I think that's tartil, and then there's another one where you sort of make it sound really nice, and it's sort of like opera style. I can't remember the name for that one, but it sounds amazing. My favourite sheikh is Sheikh Saad al-Ghamdi, Sheikh Saad al-Ghamdi, whatever, from Egypt. I love the way he does it. There's loads of sheikhs that I like who do it, and loads of women that I hear who do it really nicely. And that one can sound absolutely beautiful, and I think it's debatable whether a woman can do it so beautifully in public in front of men or not. We weren't taught the meaning, we weren't given any tafsir, we weren't given anything. So we didn't really gain anything other than just sort of learning it off by heart. We recited together in harmony on the live show, and we had to do it in the really singy opera style. And for me it was strange because it was a little bit like over the top. I was like, well, this is just like blatantly singing now. Like you proper go Beyonce on us with it. And some girls were able to do it. Most Indonesian girls could do it because, like I said, they can all sing. But like people like me, I was just like hopeless. I was just like, I really haven't got a clue how you're doing the stuff. I could just read it like A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Just read it. That's me. But anyway, I found that difficult, and I found it unfair. How are you going to judge the best Quran reciter when we all have to do the same thing and they pick the solo? I don't have to describe this bit, guys, you'll just have to see that in the documentary. And the reason Sid stopped filming on the final night is because the battery of the camera died, by the way. Part of the judgment process was obviously your 2 weeks, how you do in the 2 weeks. But the problem I thought about with that is that half the girls didn't arrive until like some 5 days before the end. Or Miss Tobago, I feel so sorry for her, she arrived literally the night before the final show. None of us had a chance to get to know her. She didn't get to partake in any of the activities that we had in the 2 weeks, which again I thought was unfair, because if you're going to be judged on the final night, we should have all experienced the same things together, and they should have all analysed our reactions and our behaviour to the whole 2 weeks at the same time. But half the girls, for example, Miss Tunisia, my friend, I made such good friends with her because she's the only one who spoke Arabic, and we spoke a lot of Arabic there together. She won the competition, but she was only there for like the last 5 or 6 days, and a big part of the judging process on the last night is the orphan children that we've been spending some time with during the 2 weeks were the ones who judged the winner, the final winner, and Fatima didn't even meet the orphans. So I think some things were really unfair, and forget me, I don't care, I didn't want to win at all, trust me. But for some of the Indonesian girls, this was a really big deal for them, and it meant so much for them to get through, because for them, okay, so I'm complaining about having to wear this, having to wear makeup, but for some girls, they really enjoyed it because they don't get to do that all the time. And they find it amazing that they're getting to wear these clothes from designers. Okay, they didn't get to keep any, but they found it amazing that they got made up. They really enjoyed that, and so what if they did? That's a good thing. I didn't enjoy it because I do it to myself all the time anyway, and I don't like to be told what to wear, that's it. Some girls don't mind it. So what was sad about the Indonesian girls who gave it their all in the 2 weeks, they didn't complain once, even though they knew some things were a bit off, okay? Everybody knew. They didn't complain once, and they took part in everything. On the final night, the live show, where the top 10 were announced out of 18, right? There's about 8 international contestants, and the rest were Indonesians, so a good 50% of us were Indonesians. In the top 10, they called out 9 internationals, so everybody from another country got through, and 1 Indonesian girl, and obviously I got through. And I remember turning around when I got through, when I heard my name, and looking back at the girls who didn't get through, who were all Indonesians, and so many of them were just in tears, and I just felt so awful, because I felt like during the 2 weeks, the international girls got more attention, right? And the talents of the Indonesian girls just got overlooked because they're just Indonesian girls. And we won the internationals because it makes the competition look better, and I felt that was awful. So anyway, when the top 10 were announced, the top 10 girls then all had a question to answer, and I can't remember what the question was, but it was something like, what's the most important thing in life? The questions were very, very vague, and I did not take them seriously at all because they didn't make sense anyway. So anyway, when it was my turn, I was so fuming. I just turned to the judges and I was like, you know what, guys? Honesty is the best policy in life. If you're honest and sincere, because they keep banging on about sincerity, I was like, if you're honest and sincere, everything you do in life, in business, in friendship, in in competitions, honesty really will get you far in life. Because, you know, the whole 2 weeks, the organisers are always like, oh, people make a bad reputation for us, etc., etc. But you know what? If you have a bad reputation, it's from nothing but your own actions, if you ask me. And the truth always comes out. I felt so bad for the Indonesian girls who didn't make it, which was basically all of them -1. And I just banged on about honesty. And everybody was like, can't believe she's saying that. Because by that time, when the top 10 had been announced, even Nabala from Tobago got into the top 10, and she had only arrived the night before. She'd arrived the night before she got into the top 10. How? They don't even have time to get to know her. How are you going to get into the top 10? Like, no offense to Nabala, but she probably found it weird as well. Anyway, I just felt so awful for them, so I was just like, honesty, blah, 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 and everyone was like, can't believe she's saying that. So then I was like, the reason I answered that, I was like, I'm going to make sure I don't get into the top 5, because then I will be fuming. But guess what? I still made it to top 5. What does that tell you? Made it to top 5, and they asked me some other question, and I don't know what the hell I said. I wasn't even listening. I was like, blah, I don't know what I said. It was a mess. But anyway, and then it turns out then Miss India and Miss Tunisia were the top 2, both of which arrived very late, and they both arrived late, and I just think that was completely unfair. And Miss Tunisia knows it was unfair. She's in complete shock as to why she won anyway. And okay, so yeah, the orphans thing. I don't know, guys, there's so much that happened in the 2 weeks. I'm really just rambling on and don't know how to tell you about it. I just hope the BBC documentary really shows the most important bits. And I'm not making this video to like shit on it, but I'm just saying the truth because oh, Laura's calling me. Part of the judging process was this fingerprint analysis that we had to go to a hospital and we had to have our fingerprints scanned in, and apparently our fingerprints will tell us exactly who we are as people, our character, etc. in percentage and everything, which I found slightly bizarre because I found it a little bit like fortune telling, reading palms, which we all know is Islamically incorrect anyway. But they were saying this is really scientific, and I was like, okay, whatever. Gave it a go, and surprisingly, it was very, very true. Most of what they said, I was like, oh, okay. But my issue with that was because they're like, in the 2 weeks, if you're not exactly what your results told us you were, that means you're faking it and you're not sincere. And I found that completely ridiculous, and they know I did. And also, we had a psychology test, which is a psychology test. They kept calling it a psycho test, but obviously they meant psychology. And it was like multiple choice, 225 questions. We had to pick between A and B. And the questions were strange. First of all, the English was very, very poor. And I knew what they were trying to do with the questions. They were trying to look at our consistency, our honesty, etc. But the questions were completely bizarre. And the English was really, really bad. So my issue, and they know this, was the fact that half of these contestants are Indonesians and English is not their first language. In fact, most of the girls there, the English was not their first language. So I was like, and some of them, they really, really had difficulty with English. So I was like, how are these results going to be accurate if, for example, they do not understand the questions? If I can barely understand what you're trying to ask, how on earth is somebody who doesn't speak English well at all going to understand this question? So my issue wasn't the psychology test theory, it was the results not being accurate. And that was a big part, that was about 30%, 20 or 30% of our final judgment. And I just felt like, I don't know, I just felt so much of it was unfair, guys, and so much of it was, I mean, it could have been such an amazing it was an amazing experience. It was an amazing experience. There's so many things I haven't told you yet, like we visited the old people's home, we visited a village of people, and we did things like we went to the slums, etc. We did a lot of good things. But the sad thing was the publicity that was involved and the promotion that was involved. And the sad thing was that we had 2 full weeks and only about 3 days of those were meaningful days, where the rest of it was sort of just like walking around looking pretty. I didn't finish the story about the Quran reading. It was good, but it was sad because we didn't really learn anything. But the annoying thing is that they cared mainly for the Quran recitation to be an entertainment factor for the live show. So they wanted us all to say it together, recite it together in our big pink kaftans and makeup and heels on the stage. But the funny thing is that we mimed it on stage, and I'm not like, this isn't a secret or anything, because when you watch the live show on the BBC documentary, it's so obvious that we mimed it, because when we finished Sadaqallahu al-Azim, it played again. It was like Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and I was just like, okay, it's so obvious, like we were miming then. It was obvious anyway, because we hadn't rehearsed properly anyway, but I just found it was so funny. It was so funny. We also had like catwalk lessons on how to walk correctly on stage, which I was just like, come on, like, this is supposed to be about modesty and nothing to do with image. I'm sure we can all walk fine. If we can't walk very well in heels, then let's wear smart flat shoes. Why do we have to wear heels? You know? But we had proper lessons, and they were like, you have to stick your chest out, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I was really hating it, because I was like, this is just not right. Leave us, because a lot of the girls were not into fashion and beauty and makeup, and they were getting really uncomfortable, and they were just like, I'm not used to walking like this, I don't want to have to walk like this, I find it super embarrassing and super uncomfortable, but we had to, because we had to look smart. My big issues were not the small Islamic contradictions that I personally found, because they're debatable anyway, but my big issues were mainly the fairness, because it did not seem like a fair judgment to me for the girls, and I was annoyed because to so many girls this meant so much, and I felt so sad for them. I'm rambling on now, I'm just all over the place, but At the end of the day, the World Muslimah Foundation is a charity and they do very, very good things for the community. I've seen that for myself. And their intentions are completely amazing and what they're trying to do is great. But, and I think this is a good thing, people from abroad have such huge hopes for the competition so that when it didn't meet the expectations, yes, it's going to get criticism, just like anything else is. But overall, I think they still did a good job because we met some amazing girls from other countries with amazing personalities who stood up for things that they found strange. But then we all the contestants all still managed to gel and live together for 2 weeks and are still friends now. And I think that's really nice, whereas now they're just too worried about the image, and they keep saying that they want us to do good things for women, do good things, don't just speak about things, go and do things. But what they don't realise is that we all are doing things for Muslim women anyway, just by being who we are, because I think one of the most effective ways to show somebody to share something with somebody is to lead by example. If you do something and people enjoy it and they just see that's how you are, then they will either follow or they will appreciate it. They're not going to look at you. You know, I feel like there are still stereotypes of Muslim women in the media, but I also feel like us trying to change it in these crazy, funny, strange ways is a little bit outdated, and we just need to be ourselves. Whatever that is, Indonesians, however you guys are always ready for the camera. You guys are amazing, artistic people who are so open to things, open to new ideas, and they don't have hang-ups about religion. They don't let Islam stop them from anything, which I think is amazing. You carry on being who you are. I'm going to carry on being who I am. Miss Iran's going to carry on being who she is, who's hilarious, by the way. Miss Tunisia's going to carry on. Everybody should just carry on doing you. You know what I mean? Overall, the competition is a positive. It's a thumbs up. I see what they're trying to do. And I even said to them, I will help you next year. If you want to bring it to the UK, I will help you. But there are some changes. You need to just face it, man. And I said to them straight, this and that cannot happen if you come to the UK. You need to face it. If you want to make it worldwide, there's some things that need to be changed. You know, if you're going to go by the title World Muslimah, then you need to have basic Islam as your guideline. And if there are different interpretations, if you think this is halal, this, and I think this is not acceptable, etc., etc., then if you're not sure of something, don't do it. Just go with what you're sure of, Islamically. If you want to make it worldwide Islamic thing, then you need to try and follow the guidelines as much as you can. Obviously, there are always still people who say, this is wrong, this is wrong. Although it's not about beauty and your image, it was, in the end of the day, it was. Let's just be real. It was about that. That's what it came down to at the end of the day. And I was the naughty one because I had high expectations. That's about it, I think. But what was nice about the final night was, the stage was to imitate a mosque, and they did it in front of the Prambanan temple, which is a Hindu temple. So that was the background, and then we were like, as if we're in a mosque doing it. They had a nice theory behind it, which was to show that Muslims live in peace and harmony with people from other religions. It's so true, in Indonesia, that is how they live. They do live in complete peace and harmony. So I thought that was a really, really nice idea. The whole 2 weeks experience, although enduring it, at some points in BBC, you'll just see me completely, I'm just knackered, I'm gone, and I have no tolerance for anything. But looking back at the 2 weeks, it's really done a lot for me, it really has. I'm so much more patient. I don't really care about the petty things in life anymore as well, especially with like me and Sid. And it really made me appreciate, like when I did finally see Sid after the 2 weeks or the 10 days or whatever, it made it so much nicer. And I was kind of glad that he wasn't with me in the end, because it meant that I could really throw myself into everything. And also, like, I'm just not fussed on like sharing space really with anybody, because it was just temporary. And in the end, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed having Prima as my roommate. We used to have some great late night discussions. And it was nice because on the floor we had all the contestants in their rooms, so everybody would walk into each other's room, which sometimes I was like, can you chill? I'm trying to get changed. But then sometimes we'd have really nice conversations. Taslima was doing henna on everyone. Some girls would come into my room to, Dina, how do you do the scarf? Do it for me. And they'd be so happy by it. And I was like, you could have just seen it on YouTube, but okay, if it's going to make you happy. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the documentary. Hopefully it's a positive one. I'm sure it will be. The BBC team have great intentions and they're a great group of women. I think that's too much rambling on. I think I'm going to finish it. I know this video is all over the place, but it was really just me talking. And I probably will have another video to put out about this when the documentary comes out. probably, depending on how the film actually goes. And I will let you know when the film does come out. And inshallah, I hope the Muslim community worldwide can improve in everything they do, which includes holding events of any sort. That includes fashion events, because I think that needs a lot of improvement as well. Many things. Anyway, I really genuinely do hope that, and I really genuinely hope World Muslimah comes back 2015 completely improved, because I spoke to the winner from last year a lot, by the way, and she said it was completely different last year and they really learned a lot, and it was really different, she said, last year, in a good way different. So maybe they should go back to how they were in 2013, I don't know. And I really do believe if people are honest in every single aspect to yourselves as well, don't kid yourself, you'll be successful in life. Anyway, inshallah, I really do hope improvements are made for everybody's benefit, and I really hope nobody's offended by my vlogs or anything like that, because I'm really not being offensive. Indonesian people, I love. I've got so many Indonesian friends. Just like you guys might find my culture really strange in some things, sometimes I find yours a bit strange. I'm not going to shove mine down your throat and tell you that you have to do it under the name of Islam. Not that Indonesians do that, but I felt that the competition did try and do that a little bit. And it was a little bit frustrating, because if I would mention something Islamically, I'd be like, hey, but we can't really do that. They'd get really offended by it, which they shouldn't have got offended, because it's just a conversation. It's a debate. Anyway, don't take things personally, people. Like I said, improvements to be made, inshallah, from all of us. And I really did hope to become a better Muslim faith-wise. I don't feel that it did that for me, but I feel like it did help me with social skills and everything I mentioned already. I think the experience was different for every contestant. Everybody's priorities are a little bit different. I spoke to so many Indonesian girls, and they also agreed with me on the culture. They're like, it's just Indonesian culture, I guess that's why we're used to it. And that's the same with everybody. Pakistanis, Egyptians, everybody. So it's not to say that they're less religious in any way whatsoever. If anything, they're not. I don't see it. If anything, I see them as having a lot more knowledge than us, that's for sure. And I think we can learn a lot from them on their positive attitudes towards life, and they all just seem to live a way happier life than we do in England, because of the fact that they don't have any hang-ups. They don't let Islam be so negative and difficult. They don't let Islam be difficult, which is lovely. At the end of the day, if you're not comfortable with something because of your upbringing or culturally, etc., and you're really not comfortable with it after thinking things through, don't do anything if you're not comfortable with it. And I think that it's not a bad thing for girls to disagree on certain things, and it's not a bad thing that I've been quite outspoken during the 2 weeks about things I'm not comfortable with, or things that I think contradict things, not just Islamically, but contradict what you said last week to the results, for example. How does that make sense? Things like that. I don't think it's a bad thing, and I think it's not going to ruin the image of Muslim women if this competition doesn't overall look like a positive thing. I think, if anything, it's going to be a good thing. It's going to show that we're not quiet little women who are just going to accept whatever another Muslim tells me because they seem more pious, because they use words like inshallah, mashallah at the end of every sentence. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you know, like people who like use religion to try and manipulate you or to try and make you feel bad. I don't agree with that. And things like, for example, I was like, you know, you guys are really into science with your fingerprint analysis and your psychology test, but you know, scientifically my body is absolutely knackered and I cannot function without my at least 7 hours of sleep a night. Scientifically, my body and my mind cannot function without that. I get answers like, ask Allah for strength, or ask Allah for time. You know, things like that. And I was just like, yeah, but science, remember that? Remember the science? And in my head I'm like, trust me, I ask Rabbina every night to give me strength and patience in this thing. And alhamdulillah, I made it through for the whole 2 weeks. And I can safely say I participated in everything. I really did participate in everything, minus a couple photo shoots, which I didn't feel I need to do. And maybe I'm more about the photo shoots because I'm a blogger, and for me, if I'm gonna wear something, I know it's gonna be advertised, or if I advertise something, I really have to genuinely like it. Otherwise, it's false advertising, and I'm lying. I'm kind of like lying to people. For example, we had to go into a shop. And on the schedule, it was listed as a shopping day, so I was like, great, I'm gonna get to go to a mall and I can meet Sid and I can just have some chill time. But no, we're escorted to like 2 department stores that are Indonesian, and we're all like, okay, So we're all shopping, we're all just browsing really, when we're all completely knackered and starving as well. So we're browsing, and then I'd get some shop assistant walking up to me and be like, sorry, could you hold up this, like this, so I can take a photo? And I'm like, great. So this is just a promotional day, basically, for brands I have no idea what they're about, and I don't particularly like the clothes, but I have to sit there and go, which to me is lying. It's lying to people who see that picture. Oh, Dina likes it. That means it must be good. No, trust me, those pictures are no's. I think it's a good thing for us to sometimes to stand up for things that are not right within the Muslim community. Just because they're Muslims doesn't mean you have to stand up for it completely. Some things just don't make sense. And it's not like putting the fault, it's not that thing where you're faulting, where you're showing people's faults in public. Remember, the media is there, all this stuff is out there anyway. And the annoying thing about things was, to me, was like we're told to say it's an amazing this, it's amazing that, and it is an amazing idea, and it is an amazing charity. The charity they do is amazing, but let's face it, the competition, some of the aspects in the competition were not amazing, and they were not beneficial. They were not beneficial whatsoever, and they need to be changed, and that's about it. Anyway, I loved my experience. Thank you for having me in World of Muslimah, guys. Seriously, it changed me as a person, and I really hope you take I hope it's constructive criticism, and I really hope you accept my help next year if you do decide to come to me for help, or I will help you as much as I can with my open hands. Anyway, this is getting on now. I've really got to go, guys. Like I said, all is good, inshallah. I hope you enjoyed it. Gonna get back to normal videos next week, inshallah. Starting with eyebrow routine, maybe a hijab tutorial, and maybe a shopping haul. Okay, back to bimbo, Dina. See you later. Bye.